Hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Riley. I'm a full-time reseller. I resell anything and everything from Poshmark, eBay, and Etsy. You guys are just going to see the tip of the iceberg. When I say I resell everything, I really do. When it comes to like vintage, collectibles, used and thrifted clothing, consignment stuff, Amazon return pallets, just wholesale in general, liquidation. I mean, anything that I can flip, I'll do. But primarily I resell used clothing just because that's really where like my rhythm is. But it fluctuates. It's fluctuated throughout the years. So just for a quick backstory, because usually when I do like fun side videos, I get a new influx of viewers who don't really know much about what I do or why I do it. So I've been reselling since 2016. When I first started doing it, it was a hobby that I knew would give me some disposable income. I never planned for it to grow as big as it did. Obviously, I had really big ambitions for it and goals, which I think everyone does, but like, did I ever think those were gonna substantiate into what it has? Not really. So I started reselling in 2016 for, like I said, disposable income, because my fiance has been reselling for over a decade, probably over 15 years now. Like, he was reselling on eBay when you had to actually go down to the postal service to mail your stuff. Like, you couldn't print out your own labels. So he's like the OG. So when I met him and I saw him doing this as a side job, I was intrigued. My interest was piqued. And honestly, it looked fun. And I've always been a sucker for vintage because of my Nana. So I was like, I'm going to resell some vintage stuff, you know, flip some vintage stuff for some disposable cash. And that way I don't feel guilty about my shopping sprees. Like, that's really how it all started. And then it's just really evolved into something that I make a full-time income off of. So here we are. Today I'm going to talk about my top 7 worst buys. When I say, I'm sorry if my puppy's barking and you guys can hear it. When I say worst buys, I'm not exactly saying, oh, these are things that I lost a lot of money on, because initially that's where my brain goes when I think of like someone's worst buys. They're things that they went in the hole with. Some things I lost money on. Some of these things, well, all of them I lost money on, but some of them are just bad, as in like, why did those come home with me? Maybe I'll have some more pop up in my head throughout the video. I'm going to start with the first one. So this is actually my fiance's doing, but you know, since we have like basically a shared income now. So my fiance called me about 2.5 years ago. He said, hey, there's some person on the Facebook marketplace and they're selling golf cart windshields. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna buy the lot and I'm gonna resell them. And I'm thinking, okay, locally, or like you're just gonna resell windshields? I don't know how that works. He's like, yeah, I'll list them on eBay. You know, people will pay shipping for crazy things, which is true. I've had so many instances of people paying more for shipping than what the actual item cost. So whatever. He calls me on his way home from work. And he's like, hey, I'm making my first trip with the windshields. I'll be home in like 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, your first trip? Like, we live in a ranch style house. What do you mean your first trip? Like, what? You know, we're already stressed for space because of the inventory from Amazon pallets and crap. So he comes home, he's unloading like 5 just huge boxes of golf cart windshields. And I didn't want to be like a Debbie Downer, because I don't know how much golf windshields go for. I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's had things come that we've flipped and we've made like thousands of dollars on. You know, he's really good at like the big flips, the big investments, where I do like more smaller increments that just add up. So I didn't want to critique him, but it was like the 3rd trip of unloading. And I'm like, dude, we don't have a warehouse for this. Like, this is not. So anyway, he was super stubborn. It was like, he wouldn't even talk about the windshields, because the first like 3 months he had them here, they were just taking up space. Like, my kids were climbing on them because they got so used to them being here. And I had not a single dent in the golf cart windshields. They were still there. I'm like, have you listed these yet? Yeah, they've been listed. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. And right there, I knew. I was like, you made a big mistake. No, granted, he only paid a few $100s for the golf cart windshields. But I remember he sold the first one. He was really excited. I think we live in Michigan. I think he sold it to like Oklahoma, right? He found out he was making like $20 a windshield after what he paid in shipping, which I'm very stingy. I'm stingy about shipping. Like, if I find I've found some really nice Pyrex pieces at flea markets that I know like are worth way more than what they're asking, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't want to ship that. That's going to be like a $60 shipping bill after padding and everything for that set. So I'm like very, very stingy about shipping, where he's more like, he doesn't see the shipping side of it until he brings it home and then realizes he made a big mistake. So anyway, that was probably, as it like financially, that was probably the worst buy ever. Just because I think he made maybe like I said, like $20 a windshield, which sounds like a lot, but after like the gas money that he put going back and forth, how long he had them listed, like it was, anyway, we only ended up selling like 5 or 6 windshields. It was like an inside joke for the next year. Every time he would go to like a liquidation auction or something with me, he'd make a comment about how professional he is, and I'd be like, yeah, go ask the golf shields. or the windshields. Like, it was a huge rolling inside joke for us. And now looking back on it, he can admit like that was really stupid. So that one, yeah, like I said, probably the biggest financial loss that we had, which honestly, a few $100s, like not bad. I've seen people lose way more money on that for like bad investments. Okay. The next one. Okay, this is the runner up for the financial loss. So my fiance has had a weird thing with slot machines. He's not a gambler, but he loves playing slot machines. So every once in a while they'll come up like a special, I don't know anything about them, but like a special type of slot machine will come up where it has a special game like Pirate's Booty or something. And he's like, oh, I got to get that one. Like that one, like a lot of people buy that. So he was going through this thing where he was doing slot machines, but it was more of like a hobby for him. So I wasn't going to get involved. I'm like, do the slot machine thing. So he kept talking about this one big ass, excuse my language, but the only way I can explain it is the big ass, bulky ass eyesore of a slot machine. And he was showing it to me. Of course, this was on Facebook Marketplace. He was showing me pictures. He's like, they want, $300 for it. I could easily flip this on the marketplace for like $1,200. Okay. I didn't put up a fight. He went and got the slot machine, and he wanted to keep it in the basement while he worked on it, because he's really good with, like, he can take apart a laptop and like rewire the entire thing. I don't know how he does it. But he can't calculate shipping sometimes, so it just blows my mind. Anyway, love him to death. So he's bringing it downstairs because it's kind of away from the kids, right? And we had just redone and refinished the wooden stairs leading down to the basement. And he's got this big, bulky slot machine, and it's just I'm looking at it right now because we still have it. It's just an eyesore. It's probably from like 2002. Like, it's not anything special. And he makes it down maybe 4 steps. And I'm telling him, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Like, one of us is going to die. And all of a sudden he hears a huge crack in the steps. So it broke like the edge of the wooden step. It snapped it. So then we're out like maybe, I don't know, $150 for that step piece that we had to replace and redo, whatever. So that was strike one with the slot machine. So he gets it down here. He's so excited. I mean, his eyes light up. He has the freaking jackpot signs blowing up in his face. He's, because he plugged it in. He's so excited. Our 2-year-old comes down here and he said, hey buddy, do you want to try the slot machine? And it looks like the screen's working perfectly fine because it's a digital one. It's not like one of the old school ones. So he pulls the slot thingy. A huge error code comes up on it, which, like, he knew there was something wrong with it, but he thought there was something wrong with like the lighting. Like, he didn't realize it was like the actual slot machine. So anyway, he went through bells and whistles. He called someone who's a slot machine expert in Michigan to come check it out. And he told us like it needs to be like completely reprogrammed. Like, you're not going to be able to do that yourself. You actually need to have a programmer come out here, blah, blah, blah. So now we have, like, I don't know, 900 pound, is that I don't know anything about weight. 900-pound slot machine that broke our steps in the basement. If we try to bring it back up the steps, it is going to break the steps again. So it is stuck here. So bad to the point where when we sold our house, we had to tell the new owners, we have to keep the slot machine here because it's stuck down here. So the slot machine, bad buy number 2. So the rest of these down here are actually they're not like huge losses, but the fact that I actually brought them home, and just hear me out. So I brought Eileen Fisher wool pants home. I do inspections on my Goodwill items, but for the most part, I'm not going through every thread. Like, I'll just like quick front, back. Maybe I'll look at the bottom cuff to make sure it's not, and then I throw it in the cart. I had these Eileen Fisher pants, super excited about them, maybe 25 bucks, 30 bucks tops. I went to list them. I was doing the measurements and I pulled them out, and then I was doing the front rise measurements, and I was like, the entire crotch was cut out. Not like someone found like a pulled thread and pulled it and like everything came falling out. Not like somebody had caught it on something and it just ripped. It was like strategically cut out, and I'm like, were these used for something nasty? It blew my mind that I didn't realize with a pair of pants that I bought that the crotch was cut out. You could have fit a coconut inside the hole of the crotch. It was blown out, like purposely cut out. So that made the list. The other thing on here, I do know some people on Instagram who have good luck reselling these, but I guess I wasn't doing it the right way. So once I actually opened my brand Honey Rags, which was after I had already been reselling for, I think, 2 years when I opened Honey Rags, I was like, all right, my first idea with it, I knew it was going to be clothing, hence rags. But I was like, I want to have some, because I originally started it on Etsy, and I was like, I want to have some like nice vintage home decor with my vintage clothing, brand, whatever. Because it was my first time really trying out like a shop that had any type of theme to it, that didn't last more than 3 months. So I was on a wicker basket kick. Which wicker things are popular. People resell them all the time. But I was on like a maniac kick where I'm like, what? If I list enough of them, eventually they're going to sell. And I know, like, I'm not an idiot. I know every time you walk into Goodwill, at least in West Michigan, you can find 12 to 20 minimum rattan or woven baskets of some sort. Like, they're very prevalent in thrift shops. And I was just, $3 a basket. I wasn't thinking anything. I was like, put it in the cart. Every time I just wipe the shelves of rattan baskets. When you ship a nice big basket, even if the basket only weighs like 3 ounces, it needs to go in a really big box. I wasn't thinking. So not only did I not have the boxes or the shipping resources to ship out baskets, they weren't selling in the first place anyway. So for about 6 months, I had a huge pile of rattan baskets that I probably put like $73, $80 into. And they got redonated. Okay, another one on here. This is really gross. If you guys don't have thick stomachs, skip ahead like 2 minutes. Probably not that long. Skip ahead like a minute. I brought home from the bins, of course. Why wouldn't they be from the bins? I brought home some Keen work boots. They were men's work boots. I think they were steel toe. They were rubber on the outside, all solid, one color. Brought them home from the bins, so obviously I didn't pay much for them. I think they sat on my inventory, or my to-be listed inventory rack for maybe 2 weeks. And I went to list them, and I was trying to take pictures, and they were nice. I cleaned them up on the outside because I will clean shoes that come from bins. The inside, I'll usually take tape. I'll put shipping tape around my hand and just make sure there's no like lint or anything in it. I was doing that, and it felt there was a little bit of give to the sole, or whatever that is called, the insole, I mean. So I'm looking at it, and once I got closer, I'm like, who wore these? I was like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, there was like fungus. I want to say mold, but my heart said fungus. Like, growing on the side. It wasn't like a straight up mushroom, but I don't know if someone had if this is even possible, if it was like athlete's foot bacteria that met with water and just, it like made its own ecosystem at the bottom. So those went in the trash. That's one of my worst buys, just because it was probably one of the most disgusting. I've been to the bins where I've stuck my hand into soggy underwear or something, and that's bad, but that never came home with me. So that memory is ingrained in my brain. Now every time I have shoes that are rubber on the outside where they kind of keep in moisture, I'm very hesitant when I'm about to go, it's putting it, oh God. Anyway, I only made 7, and I'm shocked because usually when I do lists, they're 20, 30, 50, I'm impressed with myself. Okay. Oh, yeah. So this was when I was a beginner, and I've always been honest with my followers. I do not find a lot of luxury brands in my area. I always say this, I find a lot more bread and butter brands than luxury brands. So I do have, sometimes I have a hard time authenticating certain luxury brands, especially now that it's the counterfeit ones are they're not even called like knockoffs anymore. Some of them are called replicas. They call them replicas because like they try to match the quality and everything. So I will actually usually with any luxury item, I either have it sent to like the real, or I will have someone, I'm in a Facebook group for people who identify like luxury items and they can authenticate them, whatever. And they actually do it for free. I can leave a link in the comments to that Facebook group if you guys want. There are a couple ladies who run it. They're great. And they know a lot more than I do. Anyway, when I first started, I was really bad at it. And I knew when I first started that like Coach, Kate Spade, Michael Kors, like the resale value has gone down substantially, especially in the handbags. Especially with like Coach Factory, Michael Kors outlet, stuff like that. But there was a Coach purse behind the counter, and I don't remember the style of it, but this was like a pretty, from what I remembered, it was a pretty sought after style. They had $40 on it, and I wasn't going to buy it at that price. So I walked away, and I think we were like 2 hours from home, by the way, also, so I couldn't return it. I was walking around with my fiance for a little bit. We were looking for more things, and I realized it was a half off tag day. And I'm like, let me go check if that Coach purse is a half off tag. I think it was like pink tags or something. So I walked back over there and it was a pink tag. So I'm like, cool, $20, I'll take it. So I asked to see it and I'm looking at it. I'm like, you know, it seems real. I'm looking at the zipper. It has a little Coach. I'm feeling it. I'm like, yeah, this feels good. Like I'm looking at the stitching. I'm trying my best, right? So I paid $20 for it, brought it home. Like I said, this is 2 hours away, so it's not something I could return. And I bring it home just to do a little bit of further authentication, which I should have done. And I knew I wasn't going to make that much money on it anyway, because like a used Coach bag, unless it's like one of their like top tier ones, I mean, maybe I could have gotten $50 for it. I was looking at the inside where the little Coach leather label where it has the care instructions or something on it, and it said Cavach. It was CVACH. And I'm like, so I didn't want to believe it at first. I'm like staring at it and I'm like, maybe somebody like scratched the O out or something on accident and now it looks like a V. Like I couldn't put, it was a knockoff. So I called the Goodwill and I was so mad because I'm like, I know it's not the employee's fault, but I'm like, I'm 2 hours away. So I called and I asked if there's anything I could do. If this would have been even like $8, I would have taken a loss. But I'm like $20 and like all that gas money. Like, please, like give me a store credit or something for the next time I'm 2 hours away. And they, you know, of course they couldn't do anything about it, which wasn't their fault. So yeah, that was just a really dumb buy. And now when I find Coach bags at Goodwill, I usually don't pick them up. I found a couple of the bins that were real, but they were like the older poppy style. And it's like, it's not even worth it anymore. Okay, last one on my list. So this was also kind of when I first started reselling. I found a really cool 1960s Fisher-Price rocker. It was a horse rocker, and the reason this one was special, it had all the original paint colors to it. It was like the plastic mold kind, so not the wooden ones, because the wooden ones are a dime a dozen, and they're super heavy, super hard to resell. But this one was like a nice plastic one. Like I said, Fisher-Price, that's always good. And I think I paid like $6 for it, but I found the exact same comps on eBay and it was like $50 or $60. And I'm like, okay, after shipping, like I said, I'm normally super stingy with shipping, but I was going to give this one a shot because vintage is my sweet spot. So I did end up selling it. I think I sold it for $58. But I didn't realize like Etsy just automatically does like international global shipping. I think on eBay, you actually have to turn the button on for it, but Etsy just like automatically had my shop setting at that. So I sold my Fisher-Price rocker to someone in Japan. And I was like, that always excites me. Like anytime it's like overseas, I get super excited because it's just like one more like, wow, another one of my hand curated items is going to another country. Like I don't know. I'm not going to get all emotional about it, but like I touch that and it's like, take me with you. There's been so many things. Whenever something goes to Japan, I'm like, I just want to take the label and slap it on my forehead and show up at the post office and be like, I'm ready for my trip. You know, I'm ready to be delivered. Anyway, I clicked free shipping, and usually, which I normally do on Etsy, but usually when you do free shipping on Etsy, they'll automatically, if it's overseas, they will still charge the buyer estimated shipping based on the weight you put in, for obvious reasons, right? Because I mean, you can't live off of a business doing free shipping internationally unless you're selling like keychains. So I think they paid like $18 in shipping or something like that. I didn't realize when I actually put the thing in, I put in 8 ounces instead of 8 pounds. So I guess it doesn't really matter even if I didn't estimate the shipping, like I still would have screwed up right there. So I was calculating the shipping, and I think the shipping was like 77, like it was, I wasn't making any money. Like after fees, after what I paid, there was nothing to be made there. But obviously at that point, so you got to figure, he paid the full price, or she, whoever they were, they paid the full price, and then they paid an extra couple in shipping. So I didn't lose the whole 70 some dollars I had to pay, but I probably lost a couple dollars in the process, not including the time it took to ship, and that, like, shipping stuff overseas, like I ship it like Fort Knox. It's like over the top. I actually had somebody complain on Etsy one time. I sent them Libby glasses, like Carnival Libby glasses. I had the entire set, and it was like $120 valued set. And when it comes to vintage stuff, like if that breaks, some of it is irreplaceable. Like it's not like something you can go find another one of. And I shipped every glass, and I did it all individually. I put every glass inside of a box. And then I put all the little boxes inside of a bigger box with styrofoam. And this, to be safe, this isn't over exaggeration to like get extra likes and stuff. I had another like shipping foam that I put over that box, and then I wrapped it in this cellophane stuff, this black cellophane, and I overpaid in shipping. I probably lost money on that too because of my excessive shipping. And the review was a good review. They did give me 5 stars, so I'm not going to complain. But they did say they bought it for their elderly mother, and she had a very hard time opening it, and she actually had to call the person who bought it for her, which I'm guessing was the son or daughter, over to help her unbox it. So that was like not embarrassing, but I'm like, that tore at my heartstring a bit, because I'm like, just wanted to make them safe. I just wanted them to arrive safely. So anyway, that was my list of 7. Now I feel like I've really left you guys hanging, because my lists are usually way bigger than that. I'm very honest about my bad buys because I feel like it helps a lot of you guys. So yeah, if I made a list of my worst bad buys, you'd be sitting here for a couple hours. So anyway, if you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, it's been a long time since I did a fun video. I like doing my little rant videos. If it's not your style, there's a ton of other videos that I have that are more to the point and educational as far as reselling. So go to my channel, subscribe. I'm going to leave a link down below in the description to my Instagram, which is honey.rags. And from there, you can go to my website, see some of my merchandise, check stuff out. My son is walking down here, so I'm going to end this now. Happy selling, happy thrifting, and stay safe.